When we think about Louisiana, we think about the images of swamps, Mardi Gras artists, and voodoo folklore, almost as old as the tale of time itself, a state wrapped in beautiful gardens, sticky hot summers, and dark secrets buried beneath the awe-inspiring images we see on TV or read in books. While the vampire lure may not be real, black magic and voodoo are a common thing there. Voodoo shops line up the historic French Quarter, an area we all know for Mardi Gras, food, and jazz music filling the summer night air. During Hurricane Katrina, one of the state's most infamous murders was slowly brewing, building like the swell of the storm around the quarter and raging until it swallowed a young couple beneath the dark water of their toxic relationship. Today's show is their story, a story filled with love, anger, voodoo lure, and murder. The dark and tragic romance of Zack Bowen and Addie Hall. Although not much is known about Zack's early life, Zack Bowen was a charismatic, charming young man who grew up in California and had a calm, laid-back attitude. He was a funny, happy young man. Many said was fun-loving and responsible. When he was 18, he met a 28-year-old stripper, and the pair eventually ended up married and having 2 children. After the birth of his children, Zack joined the military for the benefits it could provide the young family. And while doing a tour in Iraq, many people said he became depressed and wanted to go home. When he got home, he was a war hero, but like many, he suffered from PTSD and desperately needed help that was never provided. When his wife took the kids and left him, Zack was devastated and lonely. He found jobs around the French Quarter, settling on bartending, where he met Addie Hall. Addie was a free-spirited young woman, petite, blonde, an artist and a dancer, with a love for the French Quarter and the beauty all around her. She struggled with addictions, bipolar disorder, and an ugly temper that caused her and Zack to have violent outbursts later in their relationship. But once the young former soldier saw her, the two were instantly drawn to each other. Many people who knew the couple remembered the turbulent relationship the young couple shared, only made worse by drugs and drinking. Margaret Sanchez was one of those friends who, on a side note, was found guilty of murder with her boyfriend in a case that bore a striking resemblance to Zack and Addie's fatal end. But that's a story for another episode. After only a few weeks of dating, the couple found more trouble looming over when Hurricane Katrina came rolling towards New Orleans. Zack had every intention of leaving the city and staying with his ex-wife and their kids so he could get out of the storm, but he didn't want to leave Addie. His ex-wife welcomed Addie and told Zack he could bring her along. However, Addie's desire for independence far exceeded any need she had to leave the city she loved so greatly. When Zack went to check on Addie, he knew he couldn't leave her behind to weather the storm alone, so they decided to do the only thing they could do, ride out the storm together at Addie's apartment. Katrina began August 23, 2005 as a tropical depression, intensifying into a tropical storm as it reached Florida, and finally 2 hours later, a hurricane. As it made landfall at Hallandale Beach on August 25th, before the storm blew into Louisiana and Mississippi, strengthened by the warm waters near the Gulf of Mexico. When the levees broke and the flooding began, Katrina slowly swallowed Louisiana towns, parishes, and eventually headed for New Orleans, battering down with apocalyptic strength and winds of over 150 miles an hour.